Hello, investigators, and welcome back to Until the End of Time. My name is Veronica. Thank you for joining me for this awesome Sunday morning live stream. Well, let's hear it if you're in the chat. Just go ahead and post something, just to make sure that my audio is working and everything else like normal. I had a lot of fun live streaming yesterday, so I figured, I didn't have much to do today either. Why not do another live stream? Seems like fun. Today's live stream is going to be a little bit different than yesterday's because I actually went, hey, Pokemaster, I assume that's silent, right? It's going to be a little different than yesterday's, mostly because I actually have a theme for today's video, but before I get to that, I should actually mention a quick social media thing. I have a very complicated relationship with social media. I think that the way we're currently handling social media is bad, but that's neither here nor now. That being said, if you want to get involved or talk to me or be interested in what I'm doing, here are the places you can go find me. I'm on Twitter and I'm mostly just on the Discord server, though if you send me Twitter messages I will try to reply. I'm on Discord and that's my main place to hang out. There's already multiple people in the chat, that's awesome. So I'm just going to throw this up for a bit. Twitter.com/untilarkham and discord.gg/mythosbusters. That is the Mythosbusters server, but I've been co-opted in there and it's kind of the biggest Arkham server anyway. So with those two out of the way, because I'm not going to go begging for subscribers because the YouTube algorithm is an ancient evil that even I don't want to fight, let's talk about what we're actually doing today. And that is talking about a couple of new cards and talking about a new deck archetype that I think is getting really fleshed out in Edge of the Earth, and then continuing the Forgotten Age campaign that I started yesterday. I got a bunch of people talking about, or who wanted to see more of TFA and who really liked the campaign yesterday, so I was like, sure, I can continue that. But I also had this idea talking about new cards or new deck archetypes that I think is fun, and so I'm going to start with that, just to get a little bit of to keep talking about these new exciting cards, because they are very exciting and not all of them fit into a Monterey Jack deck. Pokemaster says it's not the biggest server, it is the server. I mean, technically, kind of column A, column B, because it's not like it's official FFG endorsed server, and there are other community Arkham servers that are quite big out there. The big one though is that the Drawn to the Flame server is Patreon invite only, so you have to be a paying member on Patreon in order to join that server. So that reduces the amount of people that get involved in that server quite a bit. I think it is fair to say that, yeah, it is the biggest server and probably just the central server. I mean, Maxine, the game designer, is literally on there and talks about her new project there, so I feel like it's fairly clear that way. So what's the deck we're talking about? Well, we're talking about a deck archetype that is named after a core set card, the card Scavenging here, center of the screen. And this card is weird even by Survivor standards because it cares about getting item cards back to your hand. In order to do that, you have to succeed in the investigation by 2 or more in the faction that has historically had an average intellect of something like 2. So this card has been weird for a long time. It has found its place in some decks, but I think with the coming of the Edge of the Earth expansion and a lot of new cards that interact with this archetype, this is going to be a very, very interesting deck to explore. And so in order to explore that deck though, we're going to have to talk about a new card. World, meet the Ice Pick. If you've already looked at all the leaks, you've probably already known the Ice Pick, but for those of you who don't, let me introduce you to a 1 cost, 1 XP asset in the Seeker and Survivor class. Has a single combat icon. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. It's Sunday morning. Item, tool, and melee traded. It is fast, which is always nice. Free trigger. During a skill test while fighting or investigating, exhaust the Ice Pick. You get +1 skill value for this test, and it takes up a hand slot. This card is okay, I guess. It's not that exciting, honestly. So it reminds me a lot of Magnifying Glass for what I probably quite obvious. The main difference here is that this card is much more flexible. Not only can it be used while you're investigating, it can also be used while you're fighting. It can be used while you're investigating with skills other than intellect or fighting with skills other than combat, because you could use it on Shriveling. Not quite sure how that works, though I'm assuming you're just melting somebody's face off and then stabbing them with the Ice Pick, which not going to question the validity of that logic. And if you are someone like Ash Gambit and you have Duke, then you can use the Ice Pick on either of Duke's skill tests. And that's all actually pretty fine, but the fact that this costs 1 XP is kind of stingy, right? You're paying money and you're putting this into play, and then it's occupying that hand slot. And you only get a single use out of this card every turn because it exhausts. And that is, I think, where this card like maybe doesn't quite fight Magnifying Glass. Even in Pete, where that card takes up one of his off-class slots, I feel like this card is kind of hard to justify. So why am I talking about this card? Well, because the humble level 1 Ice Pick has an older sibling. And the older sibling is 3 XP, still 1 cost, still fast, it's gained an intellect icon. Free trigger, during a skill test, while fighting or investigating, exhaust the Ice Pick. You get +1 skill value for the test. Same text so far, but then if you succeed, you may discard Ice Pick to have this attack deal +1 damage if you're fighting, or to discover an additional clue at your location if you are investigating. Still takes up that hand slot though. So this turns the Ice Pick into a deduction or a vicious blow, albeit a very, very flexible deduction or vicious blow, because you can deduction on a Rite of Seeking tests or Pilfer test, I guess, the rogue event that lets you investigate with the will or agility. You can vicious blow on a shriveling test. You can do lots of things with the Ice Pick. But you might be wondering, Veronica, why do I care about 3 XP to play this one-time extra deduction or vicious blow? Are survivors that hard up for good cards that they just want a single deduction or vicious blow and they're willing to pay 3 XP for it? Well, allow me to introduce you to the idea of recursion. Getting the card back again and again and again, and using it every single turn. And this is why Scavenging is in this picture front and center, because if you can do it once, you can do it twice, you can do it a lot of times, and it gets better and better and better. Scavenging is the central card in this archetype because it is, without any other uses restriction or limit, a way to get back an item card from your discard pile every single turn. If you have sufficient item cards in your discard pile, that's like drawing a good card every turn, because you're going to draw a card that you want to draw, or pick the one you want every single turn. You need to succeed by 2 on that investigating. We talked about survivors not having high intellect, but we can work around that, and the Ice Pick actually sort of helps with that sometimes. And I also want to give a big shout out to the other Seeker Survivor card that's coming in the box, Professor William Webb. Now there's a level 0 version that I haven't talked about yet much. I have talked about this level 2 version before, but just to give you a quick reminder, he's a 3 cost, 2 XP Seeker Survivor asset that has 3 secrets, and then when you successfully investigate, you can exhaust him and spend the secret to get an item card from your discard pile back to your hand, and you may discover a clue at a connecting location. Now that last part is kind of relevant because it means that you could potentially get clues from high shroud locations by investigating the lower shroud locations, which as a survivor makes you much more likely to successfully investigate by 2. I do want to give a very quick rules thingy. I know that rules can be very complicated, and so to keep things simple, I'll just keep it simple. I have the skill test timing chart up here. The ones that matter for this one are Step 6 and Step 7. Step 6 determines success or failure of the test, and Step 7 applies skill test results. Both Webb, Professor William Webb, and Scavenging are Step 6 effects. After you determine success or failure is when you succeed or after you succeed at an investigate effects trigger. Ice Pick is always going to be a Step 7 effect. Apply skill test results. That does mean that on any test that you use the Ice Pick level 3 to get the extra clue or the extra damage, but that one's less relevant here, you won't be able to get it back with Web or Scavenging. Resourceful, which is a survivor skill card, is a Step 7 effect. You can use it that way. Just wanted to point that out for people so they don't have to worry about that later and come back into the Leaks chat and ask about it, because people have been asking about it all week last week. Sip of water. So what is this deck doing? Well, step 1, we want lots of ways to get things back from our discard pile. And specifically, we want to get items back, but getting anything back is also good, so Resourceful is still a card we want to play. One quick shout out, Scavenging got an upgrade in the Weaver of the Cosmos pack from the Dreamweaver cycle that makes it able to immediately play the item without having to first add it to your hand and then take a separate action to play it. This doesn't matter nearly as much for the Ice Pick because it's already fast, but it's worth acknowledging for a couple of the other cards that we may want to recur, and we'll get to those in a moment, that being able to skip out on the action having to play them again could be very valuable. So I do think that main class survivors or other investigators who have access to level 2 survivor cards could consider upgrading to Scavenging. Level 2, well, finishing my sentences. Regardless, what you can see here is that we have a bunch of cards that when we investigate, we are able to get stuff back from our discard pile. And specifically for web, while that 3 uses might seem a little restrictive, I know from experience that like calling in favors, just killing him and then playing a second copy, maybe you have a secret card that has a couple of secrets, you could get a lot of use out of him, I think. And he's not that expensive to just like get 3 Scavengings out of him. Now let's talk about the things you actually want to get back. So front and center is Ice Pick, because getting a free deduction or free vicious blow every single turn is just great. But I also really want to mention the Schaffner's Catalog, which is a 2-cost asset with an intellect icon that has 5 secrets and automatically discards itself when it's empty, which is very important because that means it goes into the place we want it to go without us having to put in the extra effort of actually discarding it. It does it itself. And then we can spend those uses to pay for item assets. If we're going to be playing all these item assets to be trying to scavenging, having a little bit of extra cash to pay for it is great. And this is one of the main cards I think Scavenging 2 is such a good card for, because you can get it back without having to pay the action to play it. And at that point it becomes 2-cost fast, gain 5 resources. It also, by the way, that money can be spent on other investigators, which is also great. If you have a guardian in your party that is trying to pay for the lightning gun, being able to go, I'll just give you the Schaffner's Catalog money, don't worry, I'll just get it back. That's amazing. And also the catalog can pay for the next catalog. You can buy catalogs with your catalogs. Next up, a card was previewed by the Whisperer in Darkness, I want to say. Fire Extinguisher level 3. I really like this card. I think it allows very flexible investigators to do a lot of neat tricks. And I think that in this deck specifically, the fact that this has an automatic evade on all enemies engaged with you becomes kind of silly good if you can do that every turn of the game, right? Just scavenging, get this back, play it, discard it, get all the enemies evaded, do it again next turn, do it again next turn. I'm thinking specifically of the Carcosa scenario, Phantom of Truth, where in the conviction route you are being hunted by Byakis all scenario and have to deal with this horrible organist that's hunting you. With Fire Extinguisher you could literally just stand there, evade everything all turn, as long as you can get this back once a turn and not worry about any enemies while the rest of your team runs around Paris having a grand old time. And finally, a Survivor Classic that I did want to give a shout out to, but also am eyeing warily where I'm not sure if I really care about it, is the Shovel. Now the Shovel can spend an action to discard it to discover a clue at your location, which is good, but if you're doing this scavenging build, then you already want to have good intellect, right? You already want to be able to get clues safely and nicely, because you need to be succeeding at 2 intellect tests, which is not easy, so you're presumably putting some resource into that. But as I said with Web before, one of the tricks there is that you can use his ability to get clues from connecting locations that have a higher shroud. So maybe you're only really tagged to succeed by 2 on those 2 shroud locations, or maybe 3 shroud locations, and that 4 or 5 shroud location is one that you're generally staying away from, but then the Shovel gives you the reach to go there and pick those up anyway, because you just go, well, walk over, get the clue, I'll get this back at some later point. There are way more items, and I could sit here talking about them for hours, but that wouldn't get us to the rest of the video, so let's not do that. But do an ArkhamDB search for item in whatever investigator you're going to be running this in, and I think you'll have a grand old time. Now, rounding these out, I want to give a shout out to the Short Supply permanent asset that was previewed by the Drawn to the Flame crew. This is a card that you purchase at the start of at deck creation, and then when the first turn of every game begins, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. It's not quite draw 10, but it is kind of sort of draw 10 in a way. This card is insanely strong, and I really like it. I think it's worth seriously considering. I mean, I think in any deck that runs these cards, this is just an auto-include, because that's exactly what you want to be doing. The only thing that you have to keep in mind with Short Supply is that you have some way of getting your Scavengings, and to a lesser extent your webs, back from your discard pile. So bring those resourcefuls, and maybe even consider bringing a scrounge for supplies for the resourceful, just so you'll be able to guarantee that if you get both your Scavenging in the discard pile, you'll be able to get them out at some point, because that's the one, like 10 random cards going into the bin, hitting all your setup cards could be very painful. And I put some investigators up here that I think make for very clean fits for this archetype, or in one case, kind of not, but we'll talk about him. Min is, I think, the best investigator historically for scavenging because her ability makes her very likely to have a very high intellect value. Even with just a single perception, she can get to intellect 7 with her ability, which makes succeeding at intellect tests by 2 or investigates by 2 very easy. Min can still take all of these cards. The only card that isn't a level 2 or lower survivor card is Ice Pick, and Ice Pick is also a secret card, so she can still take it. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun bouncing the Ice Pick over and over in Min, getting all the clues, having a grand old time, and putting a bunch of skill cards in your deck to kind of round out this archetype, draw lots of cards. Seems super fun. Ashcan Pete, we already talked about Duke a little bit ago. Ashcan loves the new Ice Pick. He also has a surefire way of discarding cards from his hand with his ability, so he can ready Duke and put something he wants in the discard pile in there. And with Duke's investigate ability, he investigates at 4 instead of 2, which is great and gets the job done every time. Note, might not get the job done some of the time, but it will help you keep that engine rolling and makes it much easier to be succeeding at 2 with that investigate. And I think Ashcan is a big fan of Web as well. I've been talking for too much. Stella is my favorite investigator ever, and I can't do a Survivor video without talking about her, let's be honest. That intellect of 2 of hers is deceptively low. It is stupidly easy to get Quick Learner online, get some other cards online, and be succeeding at 2 with Investigate Test. I don't think it'll be a problem. I don't know if she's like the go-to for this archetype, but I am never going to pass up an excuse to play Stella, so if I ever feel like I'm burned out on my current Stella lists, I might just throw Scavenging Stella together and play some really weird cards because that's fun. Finally, William York is a bit of an oddball in this category because he's the one investigator where I feel like he's not going to be getting Scavenging working because succeeding by 2 on him is pretty hard. But he has this built-in recursion ability where he can kill enemies instead to get assets back from my discard pile. And who knows, maybe if you're doing like a solo Yorick deck and you have to investigate anyway, you figure some way to make Web work and then you can use York's ability to get Web back from the discard pile. And it's an oddball one, but isn't every Survivor deck oddball in some way? And I think it'll be interesting. Plus, I do want to point out that Yorick with the Ice Pick is pretty good. He's got his Guardian weapons, and then he can get the Ice Pick for bonus damage. He can bring the Ice Pick back with his ability. One investigator that notably isn't on this page is Wendy, which is for a reason. Wendy does have access to lockpicks, which make her one of the better investigators to be triggering scavenging. Unfortunately, Wendy also has a weakness, Abandoned and Alone, that removes your entire discard pile from the game, and that's a very high risk play with this kind of deck. I think it could be done, but only if you have a fellow investigator who has Scroll of Secrets, and therefore you're kind of able to maneuver around your weakness some of the time. But even then, it seems very risky, right? Losing a big chunk of your deck's plans by having your discard pile removed from the game is scary. And I think in Wendy, that is it's a big risk. That's about it for the deck archetype scavenging. Please let me know, is this a fun way to talk about the new cards? Did you enjoy this part of the video? Do you have any thoughts about this archetype? Are there any cool cards that I missed that you think I should be talking about? And are there any other archetypes that you would love to hear me talk about? Please let me know on Discord, on Twitter. If you're in the chat right now, obviously let me know in the chat. I'm going to give a real quick splash screen pause timeout while I set up tabletop, and then we are going to continue with the stream from yesterday morning, where I'm going to be playing Monterey Jack through the Forgotten Age. So thank you for watching this far, and please hold on while I do a quick break. and we're hopefully back, although it seems like it's having some difficulty. Oh, no, there it is. Welcome back to Until the End of Time. My name's Veronica, and we are continuing with Return to the Forgotten Age. Just a quick check, can everybody hear me, and can you see the beautiful, beautiful tabletop? Just having some technical issues, by which I mean, don't know how the software that I'm using works perfectly yet. Just gonna make sure that at least somebody in the chat can hear me before I continue. I hope there's still people in the chat after that short break. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're having a nice day or night or wherever you're living. This is going to be continuing with the Monterey Jack campaign from last stream. There will be a link in the description to that one. Basically, last time we played solo Forgotten Age. We actually did quite well in Untamed Wilds. We got out unpoisoned somehow, which is quite the surprise. And we got, I think, 9 XP, counting the 2 XP you get from binoculars in the interlude. So, from that 9 XP, I purchased 2 copies of Perception. I was originally thinking of... Awesome, thank you very much. Originally thinking of buying the Studious card and a copy of the Death Tarot, but unfortunately I then remembered that I actually have the Devil Tarot, and I don't want to have both of those cards fighting for my slots, especially since if I then have to play the Devil, I have to discard the other one. I don't cycle my deck that quickly, so it seems like a safe thing to just not worry about that Tarot card. So 2 copies of Perception to help me with my card draw. 2 copies of I've Got a Plan. I know that in Return to the Forgotten Age, the scenarios ask a little bit more damage from you than the originals, where I think until Threads of Fate, you didn't really need to deal any damage to enemies. That's not really the case in Return to Forgotten Age anymore, where it sometimes just really is necessary that you're able to kill a snake. So 2 copies of this, and as a reminder, Monterey Jack, he's a rogue that then advances into a Seeker, so he can only take Seeker 1 to 5 cards and then 5 level 0s. So he can take rogue upgraded cards. And so here I've Got a Plan as a good enemy management card in XP Seeker. So that's 4, that's 8, and then finally Join the Caravan makes 9. This is one of the new synergy cards. It cares about the number of classes you control. I think this is a card that I won't be getting the synergy out of that often, but it's still worth it for me. Because the ability in True Solo, especially as Monterey Jack, where you get rewarded for your movement, to just go from one side of the map to the other is very useful. I'm specifically thinking this scenario where, if you've probably played it if you're watching, you have to backtrack to the entrance at some point, and then in Threads of Fate, there's a lot of like backtracking and moving across the map as well. Because I'm Monterey and I'm playing all these movement cards, I'm going to be exploring exploring more of the map anyway. I'm going to make sure that I have locations revealed, and so this is going to be a useful card for me. One card I want to shout out to is the Hiking Boots, as a card I explicitly didn't take. Hiking Boots is a 2-cost asset, 1 XP, that gives you +1 agility and then lets you move between locations, but only after you've cleared all the clues from your current location and only to an unrevealed location or location with clues on it. Based on everything I know from Forgotten Age, that ability to move around is going to be extraordinarily rare in this campaign, because in True Solo, you just don't have that happen that often, because of the way that the Explorer mechanic works and some of the other scenarios work, which is a shame, because I think that card is otherwise really fun, and I'll definitely be dedicating a video to it at some point, but this was not the one to make it work, right? This is not the campaign where I need to do that. In True Solo, just isn't going to work. We're saying I start this scenario with 2 fewer resources. 2 fewer resources? 3 fewer resources, right? If you don't have supplies, if you don't have provisions. And I start with 1 physical trauma because I didn't bring a blanket. Let me just open up the cards app. If you haven't used Arkham cards, by the way, I highly recommend it. Made by a member of the community. It's a very, very good app that like tracks all your campaign progress and integrates with ArkhamDB, so you can upgrade. Let's see, we have a bunch of set aside stuff, and I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to have. Let's see, I have a physical trauma and I have low aggressions. Yes. Okay, excellent. Well, let's get started. I should also probably remember which supplies I actually have on me, because that's usually quite important. I have torches. There should be a supply stack over here. Let's see, we have some torches, We have binoculars. Can come in handy in this scenario. If you've played the scenario, you probably know what I'm talking about. Medicine, and we have a map, which came in helpful last time. I wasn't expecting the map to be that useful, but we made it work. Alright, I think we're ready. Player count is set to 1, decks are shuffled. Our first agenda gets 7 Doom, and then when it advances, we don't remove Doom from locations. And we have to get 3 clues, because solo, by exploring and finding clues. Let's do this. Opening hand, 5 cards. We don't have a lot of money, so this is a great card to have in our opening hands. Don't think I care for that. This is not going to matter until the end of the scenario. I don't think I need this if I just have base 5 agility. And I think I can do better than this. So again, mulligan, I talked about this last stream. I think mulliganing is one of the most important skills when talking about getting better at Arkham. Having the discipline to go, this card is good, but I need something else in my opening hand is very difficult because it requires you to be very aware of both what the scenario asks of you, what's in your own deck, what potential things you could be drawing into. And so one of the things I want to point out here is if I draw my weakness, the devil, then I'm screwed because I can't play Lone Wolf until after I've played the devil, so then my first turn is going to be rough. Fortunately, I don't, at least not yet, because this one does get shuffled back in. I don't know why that card is sideways. Somebody needs to fix that at some point. Alright, so our new opening hand is actually not the worst, not the best either, but, you know, we make do with what we get. We've got 2 assets. Lone Wolf is clutch here because it means we can investigate, or we can get free money while we're doing whatever we're doing. Hawkeye Folding Camera gets us the willpower boost and intellect boost that we need to make it through the scenario. Scout Ahead is a card that I really want for late in the scenario, but it's worth acknowledging that even this early on, once we get a few locations into play, being able to bounce between locations and kind of run around the hunter enemies is going to be very important. Similarly with Elusive, it also lets us disengage from enemies and then get out of the way. Finally, Breaking and Entering, it came in kind of clutch last scenario, and I think it will similarly perform well this scenario, where we can do 1 investigate at 9, and if we succeed by 2, we get to evade and automatically evade an enemy at our location. So let's get started. There's 1 clue here, and we have torches. We do have torches, so we can manipulate the encounter deck or the exploration deck if we want to, but not for now. Given the ease of getting this clue, I think... is there a new version of Super Complete Edition out? I'm still using 1.56 since April. I'm currently on version 1.61, so I think that answers your question. If you want to know how to get that one, I talked early in the stream how to contact me on Discord or Twitter. I'm not going to post a link here, because I don't want to get my channel in trouble. But there are ways to get that new version. Sorry, I got distracted by someone in the chat. So the problem that I have here is that I really want to get both of my assets down this turn, specifically before I get this clue. Now that could potentially really ruin me if I draw a really bad treachery, and it could, but it's also warding me against the potential of drawing the card that discards an asset, because then I'll have 2 assets to discard. Although, is Crypt Chill even in the exploration deck? And there's also the thing to keep in mind is that if I draw the devil, my basic weakness, I don't want to be in a situation where I really desperately want to play these, but now have to pay 3 more for them. So I'm going to gain a resource first action. That's the cost of just like not bringing provisions. I'm going to play Lone Wolf, and I'm going to play Hawkeye Folding Camera. So Lone Wolf, because we're a solo, we're always going to get a resource from this card every single turn. And then Hawkeye Folding Camera, as soon as we get this first clue, we'll have 2 willpower, which is not that relevant. But then once we've cracked the second location, we get 5 intellect, and that's really relevant. So a bit of a boring first turn, but it is what it is. And then in upkeep, we draw Join the Caravan, which is a card we're going to keep in hand until the end of the scenario, so that's awkward. And we go to Mythos. Do 1, first out of 7. Encounter cards, Merging Townlines. I don't like this card much. Discard the top 5 cards of my deck. For every card in my hand that matches one of the discarded cards by title, discard that card and I lose an action. That's 1. Now I need to, sorry, I lost count of how many I actually discarded. 3 so far, 4, 5. Okay, so that resulted in me discarding the Elusive from hand and Elusive from top of my deck. Medical students, kind of a shame because that's one of the synergy cards setups because it gives me a C card and a guardian asset for synergy. Crack the case, I would have liked money. And quick thinking, sure. Intel report, sure. All right. That wasn't great. I don't like that card much because it very much feels like, you don't have a lot of control over that one. Start of my turn. Get a lone wolf resource. No, just the one. Let's try to investigate here. I'm at 4 versus 2. Why? 4 versus 2. There we go. Get a clue. Get +1 willpower. And have this feeling, this linear feeling that I'm not going very fast. Let's go to upkeep. Alright, slip away. Let's hope we don't need that. Doom on, and counter cards. Cursor Yig, that's fine. We weren't planning on fighting a lot of things anyway. -1 health is a little scary with the physical trauma, but not the worst. Get a resource from Lone Wolf. This thing has already more than paid itself back, basically. And, well, time to start exploring. First action, let's explore. It is the Ancient Hall. Let's see what this does. Because we're playing Return to Forgotten Age, we have to put a encounter card into the exploration deck. So did that. And then the Ancient Hall, rearranged by time, enters play with 1 Doom on it. You can spend an action to flip a Doom on the Ancient side to its clue side. And you can free trigger, check your supplies. If you have a compass, flip 1 Doom on the Ancient Hall to its clue side. Group limit once per round, I think, but doesn't matter because we don't have the compass anyway. Well, I think I want to investigate here, maybe even commit something. Because the trick I can do here is get the last clue of this location by investigating once, and then spending an action to flip the Doom over, which makes it have the clue again, but it doesn't... because the Doom doesn't prevent me from getting the extra charge on my camera, which puts me to Intellect 5. I'm going to investigate. I'm going to commit this slip away. Nice. Get this clue. Because I discovered the last clue of my location, I'll get a second charge on the camera. And then I will flip this clue to its Doom side. No, it is Doom to its close side. Other way around. Then, because I ended my turn 1 location away from my starting location, I can gain a resource or draw a card. Well, resources don't seem to be a big problem right now, so let's draw a card. Ooh, nimble. And then let's go into upkeep. Ooh, perception. Let's put a Doom on. Encounter card. Ill Omen. Choose a location where there's at least 1 investigator. Well, a lot of choice there. Place a Doom on that location. Okay, that's not the worst, honestly. Like, at least this location has a way to get rid of it. And each investigator chosen location takes 1 horror. Oh, don't like that. Alright. Now it's worth, before I go any further, it's worth acknowledging that I don't get to trigger this again on my current location, because I've already done that once. But I still think I want to spend the actions to at least flip the Doom. And I'm honestly probably just going to need these clues anyway. They're not the worst clues. Sorry, now I'm thinking about it. No, I think I'm going to change. I'm not going to grab these clues. I'm going to flip the Doom to its clue side. And then I'm going to explore. Sorry, start of my turn, I should have got a resource, which I don't think I did. If I did already get my Lone Wolf resource, chat, let me know. Chat needs to keep me honest. So second action, I'm going to explore. Now the reason I'm leaving these clues behind, I only need 3 clues to advance. And I remember there being like much more important clues later in the scenario. So I'm leaving that for there. Oh, I drew the sealed passage. So I really love the inclusion of the sealed passage, and I really hate drawing the sealed passage in this scenario because it's basically a do-nothing location. It has Shroud of 9, so if you're a survivor, that's potentially bullshit to be doing. Sorry for the cursing, for the swearing. But otherwise, it has this action ability that requires you to have an item that you get in scenario 6 or 7? I think 7. Yeah, I think it's 7. Yeah, 7. So you can't get this, right? This completely useless ability that you never are able to trigger because you can't get the key Eztli this early in the scenario, in the campaign. I don't even know why it's there. Like, who even made this game? Okay. And now we have some choices to make. Because I could explore again, but there's only one hit in the deck left. Is that right? Yeah, there's the star. And there's 2 treacheries in there now, and I could activate this ability. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to look at the top 2 cards of the exploration deck and see... that hurts. Okay. Just waste an action, I guess. A couple locations in there, nothing that helps me. I ended my turn 1 location away from my starting location, so let's draw a card, and then let's upkeep, draw another card. Hey, I like where this is going. Doom on, don't like where that's going. And draw an encounter card. It's another ill omen! Oh no! Guess the first ill omen wasn't ill enough. Yikes, and we can't get rid of that Doom, so that's a sucker. Get a resource from Lone Wolf. Move. Explore. This is going to be a treachery. No, it's a Grand Chamber. It's the one that I would have gotten if I had stayed here. And it's a victory point. Would have been a victory point. Oh well. Nope. I'm going to hit a treachery at this rate. Yep, or an enemy. Oh, bother. Okay, so we hit the Tindalos Alpha. After it attacks you, shuffle a non-story asset you control into your deck, moving all damage and horror from that asset to your investigator. Discard the Tindalos Alpha. The end of the enemy phase, it discards itself as well. Choices, choices, choices. I don't want to necessarily nimble here because I've already moved the location. I'm actually tempted at this point to breaking and entering here. Because I don't want to take this forced effect, right? Shuffling a non-story asset. I guess I could shuffle the Lone Wolf in because I've got enough money for now, but I also, looking at my hand, don't think that I'll have enough money for the rest of the scenario. So I'm going to pay 2 for breaking and entering. This is an investigate that doesn't provoke tax opportunity. And I'm committing this perception because I'm testing now at 13? 13. 1 from here as well. 13 versus 3. Let's not draw the autofill. Excellent. Because I succeeded by 2 or more, exhaust the alpha, and then draw 2 cards from perception, and get a clue. And then we go to the end of the round. I have enough cards in hand for now, so I'll just gain a resource with Monteur's ability. Enemy phase, this guy discards, and we go to upkeep. Alright. This is not a scenario where I think slow and steady wins the race, so I'm going to try to speed it up a bit. We are at 6 Doom out of 7. Next turn we'll advance, and don't feel like we're in a good position. Oh, no, it's getting worse. Adding Doom to locations in this scenario is so bad. I don't want to do it. I won't have enough time. I need to put this in the victory display. Yeah. The problem is that this is going to really bite me. This is going to really bite me because I'm going to draw things that care about vengeance, and I'm going to have 2 vengeance, and it's going to be bad. And then it surges, because of course that card surges. This also surges, but I'm not poisoned. Hey, it's a snake! I don't like snakes. Don't know what it is about him. Get a resource from Lone Wolf. Let's be nimble. Let's be quick. Let's get the heck out of dodge. Succeed by 1. That's not terrible. Evade this snake and nimble on over to the next location. That way, please. The next location. I have cards in my hand that I probably want to be playing, but I'm also really feeling the time pressure right now. So I'm going to be exploring and hoping I don't hit another treachery. There's the Grand Chamber. Alright, nice. Got a card in the deck. Haven't forgotten yet, I think. So this is a 2 Shroud, 1 Clue location, but and it has Vengeance 1, so if you clear the team, if you clear it, then you would get Vengeance, but you can spend an action to use the map to make it a victory 1 instead. And as somebody in chat points out, not liking snakes is very in character for Indiana Jones. That is very true. I mean, I do want to get victory points, so let's get some victory points, shall we? Do I want to put the second Hawkeye down? At this point, I feel like that's going to be too slow. And if I
I'm about to draw the Harbinger, which is a big problem. I'm gonna investigate here. Succeed. I get the clue. I get another thing here, so at least I'll have a little bit more horror soak. And then we go end of the round. I started here, I ended here, so card and a resource. Hey, Greg. Ah, damn it, now I'm gonna have to play devil, aren't I? I need more actions. I'm playing a rogue, I need more actions. I'm not playing a rogue. Alright, we advance, because we hit 7 doom thanks to the doom that we placed there. The runes awaken, and the Harbinger is not very happy with us. She spawns at the location with the most doom on it. Right here next to us. Uh-oh. And then 13 doom before we advance. We have to get out of here quick like. Did I upkeep? I did not upkeep. I should have upkeeped, and that means I also was over hand size, so I have to discard the hand size. Crack the gate can go. I got enough money. Encounter card. Back to the point where we actually were. Oh, this is interesting. Is it interesting? It's not that interesting. I was thinking you could do some nimble moves with there, but that doesn't actually really make it any better. So let's just throw manual dexterity in there. X is -1. Succeed. Draw that manual dexterity card. Get a resource from Lone Wolf. Okay, now there's 6 cards in the exploration deck. 2 of them are treacheries. 2 of them are counter cards, to be clear. It could be enemies. I really need to do at least 1 successful exploration this turn, otherwise Snake Mama's gonna hurt me. I think I explore once, I gamble on it not hitting the treachery, and then I can torch this next turn and basically like guarantee get something out. Like that would be very nice. So yeah, let's gamble a little. We're playing solo, we have to gamble. Well, get wrecked. That being said, this is actually not the worst because I can commit the quick thinking. And assuming I don't draw terribly here, I get the action for the Explore back and actually got the treachery out. Hey! That's the first Elder Sign I've drawn this campaign. It does nothing in the pro-tradition of Elder Signs, other than being a +1. But, I'll take the +1 here. I get the action back that I used to explore, and now there's only 1 encounter card in there. So, next action, same as the first. Of course. No, I'm gonna get killed by Harbinger. I'm gonna die. Okay, 1. There we go. 2, 3, 4. Yep, okay, this sucks. 5. Can I get some Fs in the chat, please? So I just lost my last 2 actions because I hit merging timelines. Ow. It gets worse. It gets so much worse. Because now, Hunter enemies move. Maxine, why? Take 2 damage, take 2 horror. I'm like 1 hit away from death. Go to upkeep. Draw manual dexterity. Doom on, encounter cards. It's another fucking snake. Oh my god. I'm gonna die. I'm actually just going to die. This campaign's gonna end right here. Alright, first action, let's evade the Harbinger. Commit manual dexterity and commit nimble. If this is an autofill, I lose the campaign. Just FYI. -5. Do I lose the campaign? I think I do, actually. Yep, that one does it. Or well, campaign, I lose it. Actually, wait, no, I don't. I have 1 sanity remaining from this thing. So, I'm at 5, 6, 7, 8 against 4 because they found that the Harbinger wasn't difficult enough yet, so they made it +1 agility. So I failed by 1 here. Because she has alert. I do have +1 sanity from the Sakai folding camera, so I'm not dead yet, but I'm also currently in a situation where I'm pretty much damned if I do, damned if I don't. Because I can take 1 hit from, or like taking a hit from either this Vengeful Serpent or this Vengeful Serpent will also knock me out. So I think it's just over. Let's give Snake Mama what she wants. Evade her again. 3 over. No, at least succeed there. That's 2 resources, right? Yeah, okay. Is there any way for me not to go insane here? That... Man, that was like the worst luck. Okay, so I can't evade. I can evade this, but then this guy comes over and defeats me. I can not do basically anything else because then this guy defeats me. This snake. Actually, hold on. Oh, this is fast. Never mind. I just get out. Okay, that's much better. Wait. Oh, I didn't realize this was fast. I should have probably realized that before. Okay. Let's at least show off the new cards. So free trigger. This is a fast trigger, and it reduces the cost by 1 for each different class I control. I control both a Seeker card and a Rogue card, so this is a cost of 3. Sorry, it's a new card. I forgot that it was fast. My bad. And fast cards don't provoke attack opportunity, which is what matters. Move to any revealed location. Over here, please. And then last action, resign. You've escaped for now. I don't remember what happens when you resign. I think it's like the snakes get angry and you have to go back in. Before Act 3, go to Resolution 3. This was a mistake. This was all a terrible mistake. We escaped the temple with our lives, but not a moment too soon. The ruins were alive. It's as though the walls knew of our intrusion, hated us for our presence. Wanted us out, wanted us dead. We've gathered outside the temple where Jose is waiting for us. Alejandro, unwilling to return empty-handed, wants to go back inside. We must decide what to do next. We don't stop now. We have to go back inside. It's too dangerous. This place must be destroyed. Yikes, that went very poorly. I'm trying to think, because right now I've been streaming for about an hour, which is, I think, a bit too late to continue the scenario again. But I don't want to dynamite blast the entire dungeon. So I think you'll owe me replaying the scenario a later time. And maybe in the meantime, I will consider maybe slight deck tweaks as well. I think the deck worked as I expected. I just didn't expect... well, I mean, I think, honestly, the Merging Timeline was the one that did me in, right? If I didn't hit that one while I was supposed to be running away from the Harbinger, things would have been fine. And then it hit 2 cards that were already in my hand, which was, like, the worst. So, yeah, Return to the Forgotten Age. Still very fun campaign. Yikes. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I am gonna end it here just to not overwork my voice, overwork my brain. I've been having a bit of a rough week at work, so don't want to go too long. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, in the chat, please post them now. If you want to contact me outside of the context of when I'm live streaming, at the start of this video I talked about where I'm on Twitter, but it's @UntilArkham. If you want to talk about Arkham, all kinds of things on Discord, go to discord.gg/mythosbusters. It's the place to go for Arkham on the internet, as far as I'm concerned. I'm also on Reddit. I don't mind Reddit. I think it's fine, but I think it doesn't really do a good job of building communities. It builds discussion posts. And I think Discord's much better at building communities, which I like. That's going to be it for me. Shit about Underworld context for merging. You're completely right. If I build a Singleton deck, a Highlander deck, then I wouldn't have had to worry about merging timelines. You're so right. I mean, the rest of my deck would have been garbage, but, you know. No, but I do actually love that idea. That's a very cool idea. Yeah. Huh. Hadn't thought about that. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. This has been Veronica signing off. I'll be seeing you